Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fearless Female Podcast. Now, before I even start, I'm going to be completely honest and say that I don't actually know if this audio is even going to sound okay, if I'm going to be able to upload this okay onto the platform that I need to put it on to make it a podcast, but I will figure that out after. It's one of those things where I have been wanting to do this podcast for a while, but like a lot of us, when things give us that little bit more anxiety or we have that little bit of fear around it, we put it off, we make excuses. So I had to just bite the bullet this morning when I had a little bit of time and go for it. And I suppose that is one of the reasons why I've called it the Fearless Female Podcast, along with a few other reasons, because one being, and again, I want to preface this with, on a podcast, I think that's one of the scary things, to put yourself out there because you are speaking your own opinion, you have your own platform to give your own ideas, and sometimes that can be really scary because someone could take that in the wrong way. It can be picked up out of context, but I just want you to know that, like everyone else's platform, these are my opinions, and I don't mean to offend or upset anyone with anything I'm saying, but I do want this to be a very transparent podcast. I think if you know me quite well, you will know that I'm not about any of the bullshit, so here we are. But as I was saying, and again, expect me to ramble a lot. I'm going to try my very, very best to stay on topic and on point, and I know that will get better with practice and with time. But I feel like the word fearless just vibes with me a little bit better, and I feel like coming from the kind of empowerment phrase, I used to use that a lot with my coaching program, and I still do, and obviously most female coaches want to empower women, and that's absolutely fantastic, and I obviously want to empower women as well. However, I just think the word has been thrown around Instagram a lot recently. Everybody's using the word empowerment, and I just wanted to be that little bit different. So again, anyone who knows me knows that I try not to follow the crowd as much as possible. So as I said, fearless females, it just vibes with my personality a little bit better, and it still is that kind of empowerment type phrase. So being fearless in the pursuit of your goals, whatever they may be, fitness, health related, business related, being fearless as a female to just demand more, being fearless to be confident in your own skin. And don't get me wrong, I don't mean that I'm building Sasha fierce females just going out with this alter ego like Beyonce, but as I said, I think building fearless females and just the Fearless Female Podcast just vibed with me a little bit better. So that's where I came up with the name, and I completely forgot that I haven't even said who I am, so I suppose I should start there. My name is Shannon, or Shan, and this is actually quite a funny well, no, not a funny story at all. Again, excuse me, because this is going to be a bit of a car crash episode. But Shape by Shan is the name of my coaching business, and people now obviously know me as Shan, which I love, and it's something that when I was growing up, I never had a nickname. I always wanted a nickname, but everyone always just called me Shannon. I never even called myself Shan. It was always Shannon, and I think my boyfriend and my sister maybe were the only two that used to call me Shan. So when I set up my coaching business, I went with Shape by Shan because, Shape by Shannon doesn't really sound as catchy. And now I'm just known as Shan, and I love it. And it's actually taken me so long to get used to even calling myself Shan. So when I go into Starbucks, and again, if you follow me or know me, I am a Starbucks obsessed person. It's just become part of my personality now, I think. But when I go into Starbucks, and when I used to go in, it used to take me so long, and I used to feel really awkward saying my name is Shan, but it's so much easier than saying Shannon because there's no issue with spelling. It's great. So I am Shan, as I said, or Shannon, and I own my coaching business, Shape by Shan, where we delve into obviously all things female health, nutrition, fitness, getting my clients to build themselves as that fearless female, demand more for themselves, get to where they want to be, with their physique, because that's usually why a lot of people hire a coach or want to improve themselves. They want to feel better in their own skin. But over this past year or more, I have been really diving into more issues related to female health, physiology. So this is where with my coaching I match the two. And with this episode, I'm going to just go into a little bit of a backstory with myself, to give a bit of context, and then going forward with episodes, I want these to be short, sharp little episodes that are going to give you nuggets of value, motivation, whatever you need, whether you're on hawk or walk, doing meal prep, or just sitting with a coffee. If you're like me, I'm not very much into 2-hour podcast episodes. If it's a conversation with someone else, an hour and a half I can listen to, but I want these to be valuable episodes that you're going to be able to, as I said, take something from and go and actually put it into practice. So that is the vibe for the podcast, and I'm hoping to get some really exciting guests on in the next few weeks and months to talk all things female health, fitness, nutrition, whatever it may be. So I, again, have kind of lost my train of thought, and as I said, please forgive me for this first episode, but let this be a good example that you can clearly tell this is not something that I am very used to. It's not something that I am massively confident in, but it's something that I know I will get better in. So it's the law of numbers, isn't it? It's the more you do, the more you're going to improve, the more you'll get more comfortable with it, more confident with it. And yeah, let this, as I said, be a lesson to you all that just start and do it, and it will get better. You don't have to be perfect from the beginning. And yeah, you can tell if you're watching this either on camera or listening that this is definitely something that has thrown me out of my comfort zone. But I have been on a few podcasts recently, and it's one of those where sometimes you just word vomit. You get asked a question and word vomit just comes out, and then you come off the podcast and you think, what did I answer to that question? What did I say? So again, that was another reason I thought, why not start my own, where I can, control the narrative myself and try to control what I'm saying myself and get my own opinions out there and what I want to provide to you. So, where to start? I currently live in Doha in Qatar. I actually graduated as a teacher in 2015, went to St Mary's in Belfast, which was, the teaching college of the time that everybody wanted to go to. Graduated in 2015 and had a job in London actually to start straight away. I went to London, realised wasn't for me, wanted to, maybe head away. So me and my boyfriend both came to Doha, taught for 3-4 years and realised that it just wasn't for me. And through university, through my teaching practices, I did enjoy it, I suppose, but I think looking back, it was one of those where, when you're 70 or deciding what you want to do for the rest of your life or what you want to do in university, you're so young, you don't actually really know. My mum was a teacher, my auntie was a teacher, so I had a lot of influence from teachers, so I just thought, yeah, I'll go into teaching, and I thought at the time that was, what I wanted to do. But long story short, I realised when I was here in Doha that it wasn't what I wanted to do. I did my personal training in 2017, so when I went home for the summer, I went to Dublin, did my personal training. It was a 6-week intensive course, Monday to Friday, in Blackrock in Dublin with Elite. So I was travelling up and down every day, got my PT, absolutely loved it. Came back here to Doha, was still teaching, was doing a little bit of personal training on the side, and was starting to try and build up some online clients, but online coaching wasn't as common as it is now. So it was still very much a hobby, after school, taking a few clients. I'd still so much to learn. And that is when then I decided in 2019 that I wanted to go to Australia just to get a break from teaching. I didn't necessarily want to go and be a personal trainer in Australia. It was definitely something I wanted to explore, but I just knew I needed a break from teaching. And I made the decision to go to Sydney. So I went with a girl's time that I was teaching with. We went together to Sydney. I tried to get a job in Fitness First. I did not, because clearly I only had experience with, taking a few clients here in their own gyms in Doha. So didn't get a job in a gym. Worked a few different jobs. Worked in a call centre, worked in a bar, an Irish bar. Absolutely loved Sydney, but it was really, really difficult because my boyfriend stayed in Doha for the year. So I'm not going to go into that massive story, but Was in Sydney September until March, and then COVID hit. So COVID hit, that meant that I had to go home to Ireland. And at the time I was very naive, like I think a lot of people were. We thought, it'll last a few weeks, it'll be fine. But at the time I was going around schools teaching PE basically. So it was like a private company going in, which it was a great job going in. You didn't actually have to teach, you were just coming in as the private company to deliver the PE lessons, which was right up my street. But obviously the schools were closing then, so we were out of jobs, we wouldn't have had money to pay rent. So it came to March and I had to, in a panic, fly home. I remember trying to book flights, 3 of my flights were cancelled. Everybody remembers how crazy that time was, and thinking back now, it's actually crazy when you think back to COVID and the lockdowns and everything. But went home to lovely Newry, where I'm from, in Ireland, and I genuinely did not know what to do, like a lot of people. And I mean, I had a few choices. It was either go back teaching, because I'd been offered a few jobs to come back to Qatar teaching. And my boyfriend was still here, by the way, so we did long distance for a year, which was, again, really hard, but I suppose we can talk about that in another episode if anyone's interested in that. Suppose didn't really know what to do, was unemployed for a good few months, because I thought, I'll just head back to Qatar, it'll be fine. But I made a promise to myself that I had made the break from teaching, I wasn't going to go back teaching. And then a few months later, an advert in the paper came up for a PT position in Pure Gym in Newry. Now, before this, I was kind of sitting at home having, one of these, I suppose, not life crisis, but like that, didn't really know what to do. And I knew I wanted to go into, coaching / fitness, and go on that journey. So I knew that the only way to start that was to, first of all, get myself, in a good position with my physique and my health, and start learning from people who are already ahead of me. And if there's any advice that I've ever been given, it's, if there's someone who is ahead of you doing really well in the thing that you want to be doing, learn from them, learn everything you can from them, reach out to them. And anyway, that's a little bit of a tangent, but I reached out to Alex Gates, shout out to Alex, who was working with the Muscle Mentors at the time. I reached out to him, he started coaching me. I learned so much from him. Then that got me interested in the Muscle Mentor side of things, which they had an education platform at the time, which went through, things like biomechanics, nutrition, anything to do with training. So I was learning so much. I went then to some of their biomechanics seminars with Paul Standel and, oh my goodness, Paul Standel and, why did I not think of his name, because I just listened to his podcast. That is awful. I've taken a blank. I'll come back to that. But went to their seminar in Birmingham, I think. But yeah, was learning so much, and then just started upskilling from there. So was diving into nutrition courses, loads of kind of extra learning, I suppose. I bought a skeleton. I used to go to, anatomy classes online. Obviously, this is all through lockdown. And I was learning loads from Alex as well in terms of online coaching. So I started, again, I don't think I had any online clients at the time. I think maybe a few, but my online service then, compared to what it is now, it's, oh my goodness, it is just, looking back, it's so nice to see where I started in a way, and how it's transformed. But I then decided that I needed to do something to keep other people occupied and fit and build a bit of a community. So I started doing live Zoom classes like a lot of other people did. We did one at, I think, 6:30 in the morning before people went to work, and then one at maybe 5:30, 6 in the evening. And they ran for, I think it was a crazy amount of time, like maybe, I don't know, was it 20 weeks? No, it wouldn't have been 20 weeks. I'm not sure, but it was definitely maybe like 15 weeks or something. I even moved into, I went down to Limerick, where Tom's from, and his sister and husband have an outdoor gym, or a home gym. And I actually moved in with them basically for 10 weeks, I think. And this was during one of the other lockdowns, because at this stage, it must have been during summer maybe. I'm not sure, but I moved in with them because these classes just kept running. So I delivered those classes, started building up a little bit of a network, and then going back to the Pure Gym job, my auntie sent it to me actually. said they're looking staff, and at this stage I still thought that I would just come back to Qatar and, you know, do some coaching or PT or whatever, but they still weren't allowing tourist visas in, and I made that promise that I was not going back teaching. So I took up the job in Pure Gym. Absolutely loved it. Like, genuinely fell in love with being on the gym floor, meeting different people, getting that experience, getting to chat to different people, even taking the classes. I absolutely loved it. Just, you know, it's one of those where when you know that so many women and men as well, but women were coming in maybe, you know, from a long day of work, or, you know, they were at home stressed with the kids, and this was maybe their only hour of an outlet or something they can enjoy, and I could provide that to them. That was just, I loved that, and the classes were brilliant, and they just kept me kind of, you know, motivated and fit as well, because I did every single class with all of the people that attended. So if any of the OG Pure Gym gals are following, I know you'll remember those classes. But spent a year in Pure Gym, getting to know the gym floor, building up like that a client base, and starting to move people to my online coaching. So doing, you know, like a hybrid service with PT sessions included in the online. Eventually I was limiting all my hours in Pure Gym, and I was moving anyone I could online. And this is where then I met Ollie Carson, who is now my business mentor, and an absolutely superb one at that, but supercharged. So I think he delivered a training with the Muscle Mentors, so I was a part of that at the time. And then I reached out to him. He got me, you know, on working with him, and things have obviously then progressed with the online stuff from there. Fast forward then everything. Alex, my coach, they split from Muscle Mentors and formed Pro Coach, and I decided that I think at this stage I'd already done a photo shoot, my first photo shoot, because I wanted to kind of push my physique and challenge myself. And at the time then, the next kind of natural step, I suppose, felt like competing. Now, competing was something that I'd never thought about in terms of IFBB, PCA, and if you're not familiar with the federations, they're quite bodybuilding federations, if that makes sense. I had always wanted to, and I know so many girls will probably resonate with this, but if you follow Lauren Simpson or Rachel Dillon, I had the dream of being a WBFF bikini athlete. And I said this to Alex in the beginning, like, I want to be Rachel Dillon. I just want to be Rachel Dillon. I want the Clark crown. I want the glitz. And again, if you know me, you'll know that anything that glitters is a bit of me. So I wanted the glitz. I wanted to be on stage. And that was all fine. The more then I thought about it, and the more I got into that bodybuilding world, and I went to Manchester a few times to really experience that kind of bodybuilding setting, the more I wanted to push myself even further. So decided that I would do my first PCA show. That was only last year. Went through the prep. It was one of the hardest experiences of my entire life. And again, we can keep that to another episode. But went through my prep, competed in 2 shows, had then the goal to push on and wanted to win a pro card, which would have been this year or next year. So went into my off season with Alex, and at the same time my online business was growing. I was digging into, as I said, more things female health related, hormone related, and it just got to a stage where I didn't really enjoy the thought of, you know, getting on stage and prepping again. It wasn't aligning with my personal values or my business values. And it was only a few months ago that I had to sit down and ask myself, you know, is this actually what I want? Or is this something that I'm just doing because I think it's something that I have to do, and I don't want to, you know, let myself down, or I don't know what else to do if I'm not competing. You know, what am I working towards? So, and I think this is really important for a lot of people to do, is just sit down and take a little bit of a reflection, or kind of like a little evaluation of where you are, and are you actually going in the direction that you want to go, and are you actually working towards those things that you want to be working towards? Because a lot of the time they're not. Sometimes we're just on autopilot. Sometimes we feel like we have to be working towards a certain goal because maybe, you know, society has told us, or we're comparing ourselves to someone on social media. And sometimes when you sit on your own, and it has to be on your own, sometimes you actually realize that the things you're now working towards, or the path that you're on, just isn't one that is serving you in any way anymore. So that's what I did. And I'm not the best decision maker. I like to have, like we all do, I like to have, a few people's input and see what they think. So I obviously asked Tom what he thought, and he said to me, this has to be your decision, because if I give my opinion either way, yes, you should do it, yes, you should stop competing, you are going to, not resent him, but you're going to always think, oh, should I have continued on or should I have stopped? So I sat with myself, and the thing I did was I imagined me on that stage receiving a pro card, in a year, 2 years' time. And when I thought about how that made me feel, I genuinely didn't care. And that's, for me, when I knew that this path that I was on wasn't for me anymore, because people in the bodybuilding world, bikini athletes, work years and years to get a pro card. They give their life to it. It's basically, it has to be their life if you want to get to their level. And for me, it just wasn't. I did a prep, I did a show, I experienced it, but I valued so much more my life other than bodybuilding. And that was the decision for me. I wanted to be able to go out for meals and have date nights with Tom. I wanted to look forward to Christmas and getting home and being able to enjoy those celebrations with family. And if I was continuing on to compete, I wouldn't have been able to do that, and that didn't give me any enjoyment. And my whole perspective changed, because when I was doing my first show, those things didn't matter. I was, on prep, I didn't miss a beat, which you have to be. I was, eating very, very low calories. I was training every day. I was doing my arts cardio, and that's all that mattered, because when you want to step on stage, that's the extremities that you have to go to. But when I thought about it, these things just didn't make me, not happy, because a prep is always going to be hard, but it wasn't my purpose. It wasn't something that I was willing to work for. And then on the other side of that, if I wanted to get to a pro level, I was going to have to go down the assisted route, which, again, if you're not familiar with the kind of bodybuilding world, this is where you use performance enhancing drugs. So things like, testosterone, that are going to help you grow more muscle, things like that. And again, I'm not very versed in the subject, but we'd made the decision that was the route I was potentially going to go if I wanted to get to that level, and it just didn't sit right with me at the time. I was like, yes, let's do it, I want to get to these levels, this is what I want. But when I got to this point of reflection and the path I was on and what I actually really wanted, it just didn't sit right with me, because there was a total disconnect with my own values at the minute, my business values, and how I was coaching my girls and what I really believed in. And as I said, I've dug deep into things like female health, hormone health, physiology over this last year or more, and these are things now that really matter and resonate with me. And for me to go down the assisted route, be injecting myself probably with testosterone and whatever else, and then preaching about hormone health and living this healthy life, and there was just a disconnect. So I made the decision, and as soon as I made the decision, I obviously told Alex, my coach, but as soon as I made the decision, and I cried on the call because it was this overwhelming, it was an overwhelming thing, because it was a big part of my life for a while, but it was in more ways a relief, and that's when I knew it was the right decision. I just felt this and as I said, that was when I knew that this was 100% the right decision, because it just made me feel so much more aligned with my business, with my values, with how I coach my clients, with progressing things forward, being able to speak about things, and even being able to speak about, assistants and PEDs. And with my clients, I was very open with them and told them that this is something that, I don't know the exact percentage, but a large amount of bikini athletes will be doing in terms of using performance enhancing drugs to get to where they need to be, which is absolutely fine. That's your choice, because it was going to be my choice. But there's a disconnect when these bikini athletes are preaching about, a balanced life, or this is how they got their physique with doing all these things, but they're not actually talking about the assistants they've used as well. So again, that's probably going to be a topic for another episode, but this is kind of how I have gotten to where I am now. I have my coaching business, obviously online, Shaped by Shan. I have one-to-one clients. We are doing our first group photo shoot now in December, so I'm flying back home for the month of December. I have lots on in December, And it's just such a, again, that was a bit of a tangent telling you about the photo shoot, but it's just such a nice feeling. I think the girls recognised it in me as well, that I can now coach them with being totally in tune with myself and in tune with where I want the business to go. And it just felt right. And I would never say, you know, I would never put anyone off competing, because at the end of the day, that was a point in my life and I loved it. But for me at this time, it was just the right decision for me. And I think too, because I'm maybe a little bit older, you know, I did my first show when I was 29. I'm 31 now in 2 weeks. But I think maybe as well, because I am a little bit older, I wasn't going to want to spend the next 4 or 5 years in the competitive space. That wasn't in any way my goal. So yeah, it came to the question as to what am I actually getting out of this. But now that I am not obviously competing anymore, everything has changed and my perspective has changed on things, and it's brilliant because, as I said, I get to live exactly how I coach my clients. And like that too, it's one of those where, you know, when I describe my coaching, I say it is physique development meets female health, because I do have clients who want to push themselves to that photo shoot physique, and I will absolutely get them to that physique. And because I've come through that, I've experienced photo shoot preps, I've experienced getting crazy stage lane, I've experienced all the things that come with that. And I'm a very firm believer in it's very hard to coach something if you haven't come through it yourself. So now I know that when, you know, someone wants to push themselves to a photo shoot lean physique, and I'm going to touch on that in a little second, I can get them there, but we're going to also make sure that their health is in a really, really good place first. And leading on to that, going back to the photo shoot that I have in December, photo shoots at the minute in the industry are really, really common, and they're a brilliant way for people to, you know, up level their confidence and just get glam for the day and really show off what they've worked for. However, photo shoots for me and my girls are also a point to snapshot that point in time where they're at, how far they've progressed so far. It's never an end result, and it never is, you know, you have to be this certain physique for your photo shoot. Every single female, every single person is completely different, and the confidence boost that the photo shoots give the girls is absolutely incredible. And a lot of them will do a photo shoot to show how far they've come, and then they'll maybe set, you know, another one for 6 months to a year's time. And as I said, it's just a nice snapshot to see how far you've come and showcase your hard work, and like that just become a fearless female. So I am going to wrap this up here. I have no idea how long this episode is. As I said, if you've made it to the end, thank you so much for listening. I promise that the episodes coming are going to be packed full of value. They're going to be short, sharp, filled with little juicy nuggets for you to take away and use in your own kind of fitness journey, health journey, whatever it may be. And yeah, as I said, I hope, first of all, you're able to understand me, because I know my accent can be a bit hard, but I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope the audio in this is okay to listen to. So I'm going to leave it there, and I will catch you all, I suppose, in the next one.